Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Apex Online Racing for the F1 2019 Hype Energy Formula 1 Leagues. This is the PlayStation 4 F2 tier, and it is round 18 of Season 18 tonight. The Mexican Grand Prix around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I am Luke Etheridge, and I will be bringing tonight's action for you. 18 minutes of qualifying, followed by 36 laps of what I'm sure, if last week is anything to go by, will be top class racing action. If you didn't join us last week, it was a very interesting evening for what were the top three title contenders. Louis had quite a lot of trouble in the first few laps keeping it on track, and during one of his excursions he ended up collecting the championship leader Nolan, taking the Toro Rosso driver out of the race. Vasta Racer was leading at that point. He must have thought all his Christmases had come at once, but in the end he could only finish fourth in what was a race of many firsts. It was the first podium of the season for Massina in the McLaren, the first second place of the season for the Red Bull of Jompalainen, and F1 Gamer took his first victory of the season. Now, the upshot of all that from a championship point of view, mathematically there are still 9 drivers who can win this championship. Realistically, there are only 2. Nolan, who is absent once again tonight, and he has an 8-point lead over this man, Vasta Racer, in the Racing Point. This is a perfect opportunity for him to take the lead of the championship. Only 4 rounds remaining. Tonight we have Mexico. Next week it is America, and then Brazil and Abu Dhabi finish off this season. As always, your comments are welcome. Who do you think is going to take the victory tonight? And what I should say, Louis should be joining us before the end of qualifying, so might not get a lap in, but hopefully he should be able to join us in time for the start of the race. And talking of getting a lap in, let's see what Vasta Racer can do on these soft tyres. Heading down the main straight, it is an extremely long run here to the first corner. The cars reaching top speed, no doubt helped by the thin air at this altitude. 210 miles an hour as he comes into the braking zone for turn 1. You'll see a lot of battles through the race continue through these first 3 corners as we enter the second DRS zone, heading to the heavy braking point at turn 4 as you cross over the end of the first sector. You've got to keep it nice and tight to the inside to get the best possible line through turn 5, turn 6, very slow, fiddly double apex right-hander there, and then we head to the S's where you really need a stable car. Sebastian Vettel got it wrong on F1's return here in 2015. Vasta Racer though looking planted. Ooh, I say that, just commentator's curse coming in action there, just got on the curb a bit too much at turn 11, but didn't cost him too much time. Now heading through the stadium, added in 2015 this section to replace what was the fearsome Peraltada corner, but a tricky complex and a famous complex now in its own right. Vasta Racer hugging towards the inside for the shortest run possible to the line, and that is a 1:14.016. Pablo Joglar going just behind him. Now Pablo was involved in a incident towards the end of that race that also nearly took out Vasta Racer. David Harrison was the instigator of that as he locked up heading into the hairpin at Suzuka, and David did get himself a 10-second penalty added in the stewards just over an hour ago. In fact, that steward's decision came out, and Pablo Joglar also got himself a warning for an unsafe rejoin of the track. It was a very interesting opening lap as well last time, took a few drivers out, and it looks like we're going to be having an interesting qualifying. Extremely close action so far. The top 5 separated by just under 0.3 of a second, and Speedster goes fastest. F1 Gamer's teammate, F1 Gamer of course the winner last time out, first man into the 1:13s. So see Paris locking up slightly there. It's also a good opportunity for Racing Point to catch up to Toro Rosso in the Constructors tonight. The gap at the moment is 75 points between Racing Point and Toro Rosso, but with the Pink Panthers having both of their drivers here tonight and no one representing the Faenza team, that gap could easily halve. You wouldn't be surprised to see that. They have had a 1-2 this season. Only a couple of races ago in Russia, Vasta Racer and Paris took the 1-2, so it'd be a great opportunity for them to shrink that gap in the championship. Williams on 92 points back, but with Louis being their only driver tonight, it's going to be hard for them to reel in Toro Rosso too much. Just following Paris round now through the Forosol Baseball Stadium. So Valtteri Bottas get it wrong around here. Yellow flags in sector 2 and 3, probably just for cars moving out of the way. And Paris going just ahead of his teammate, the second man to break the 114 barrier, 113.995. Most of the cars have set their first lap or are on their first lap. Paris just come across the line. He'll have invalidated that lap. CA, he is on his first flying lap, so we'll follow the Haas driver around, see what he can do. Looks as though he took a lot of curve there coming into turn 2, so I wouldn't be surprised if that is an invalidation, but he's carrying on regardless, so perhaps I am wrong about that. We are a third of the way through this qualifying session, however, and it is Speedster, Paris and Vasta Racer, your top 3 at the moment. Most of the drivers have chosen the soft tyres for this qualifying session. As always, soft, mediums and hards, the 3 tyres are available, and it is the middle of the Pirelli range which are available here in Mexico. The C2, C3 and C4 tyres, and I'm sure you're fed up of me saying this by now, but a reminder that the top 10 in qualifying must start on the tyres that they qualify on, so perhaps chance for those further back. If you qualify outside of the top 10, just go for something different. You never know, it could work. CA 114.1 would have been his time. It would have been good enough for 6th place, but in the end it was invalidated, and that is Messina, who is just coming out onto his outlap now. So as you can see, I think there was 5 drivers there that invalidated their first runs, and they're only going to get time for another 2. So it might be worth putting a bit more fuel in the car to see if they can just make it go a bit longer in this session. So a few more facts anyway about this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, named after the Rodriguez brothers of Ricardo and Pedro, some of Mexico's finest racers in the 60s and 70s. It was first used in Formula 1 in 1962 before being taken off the calendar for safety reasons. Actually, in 1970, the crowd, we know how eager they are in Mexico. It turns out they were a bit too eager that year, and the FIA decided not to hold it here anymore for safety reasons. 1970 was the year of Mexico's first World Cup hosting, and F1 returned just in time for the second one in 1986. Only a short stint, being taken off the calendar once again in 1992 before rejoining in its current format in 2015, and we have seen many title deciders here. Lewis Hamilton, I think, winning the championship twice now at this Mexican circuit. And Vasta Racer, that is a fantastic time from the Racing Point driver, 113.682. He's looking very close in qualifying, but he's got a quarter of a second faster than anyone else at the moment. I'm sure he feels he had a fantastic chance to win last week, but was frustrated by some great defensive driving from Pablo Joglar for quite a lot of the time. Pablo actually going into second with a 113.8 as I say that. I'm sure Vasta Racer would have expected to possibly take the championship lead last week, and he's going to have a fantastic chance to do it this time out, and it will be well deserved. I know Nolan has missed many races, but Vasta Racer has been there to pick up the pieces, and since Germany he has been one of the form drivers, taking all 3 of his victories since then. A couple of podiums flicked in as well. In fact, for him, that 4th place last week was probably one of his worst results in this second half of the season, and at the halfway point he's looking very good to take another pole position, although it might not always be the best idea at this Mexico circuit. As I said, there is a long run to turn 1 here, so expect slipstreaming to be in action during that first lap. Sparks now He comes around the final corner. That's a great lap from the solo Alfa Romeo driver. 1:13.9, was third place at the time, but Speedster just pipping him there with a 1:13.89. And Kieski has retired from the session. So Kieski has got it wrong, I believe, in the final sector, unless he's just pulled off somewhere. Can't see any cars that are currently in that final sector. Ash, not too far away from it, as he's currently in 5th place. Taken out in a very strange incident last week was the Renault driver in that first... Well, before we even got to the first corner, actually. I'm not quite sure what happened. I'm not sure what's happened to Kieski, but it's not looking too good for the Mercedes drivers at the moment. Nick yet to set a lap time. And Kieski will almost certainly be starting from the back of the grid. Of course, depending on if Louis turns up. Jon Palainen going for something a bit different here. He's on those medium tyres. Everyone else going for the soft, so you'd expect him to be quite a bit off the back of the grid, which is looking tight once again. It was extremely close last weekend, and here we are again. 8 tenths separating the 10 drivers that have set a lap time at the moment. Follow the Red Bull on board. He's another driver who's improved in this second half of the season. Season 16, he was the F4 champion, got there through... I'm sure he'll agree with this, he was quick, but wasn't the fastest in that league when it came to qualifying, but he was so good at managing his tyres and avoiding getting any penalties. Let's see what he can do in the Red Bull. Himself and Clarkey always seem to be close, so I'd expect, judging by the tyre difference, a high 114 or a mid 115. In fact, it would have been a 115.7. And as I said, he's a man who tries to avoid penalties. He's invalidated his lap once again, so no time for Jon Palainen. He's only going to really get one chance. See here now, he's just come through the second sector split time, running wide around that corner. That could easily lead to yet another penalty for extending track limits at turn 12, and he looked pretty close through 15 as well. Hugging that inside line, he kept it clean enough though. A 1:13.893, just 3 thousandths off of Speedster in the Ferrari at the moment. 2/3 of the session gone. Vastracer and Pablo Joglar will be your front row as things stand. Speedster, CA, Sparks rounding out the top 5. Pablo Joglar there needs to find 2 tenths to try and get on pole position. He's on what will surely be his final run. Vastracer has also come out of the pits as well. Just taking it easy, I'm sure, before getting on to their qualifying lap. Although Joglar did look to be pushing fairly hard there for what is an out lap, of course. Though some of the drivers weren't exactly the happiest with some of the comments Joglar was making. He was frustrated after last week, quite understandably, of course. Was on for a very good result in the Renault. Could possibly have challenged for the win before being taken out by David Harrison. Can he put that disappointment behind him to take pole position here? We'll follow the Renault round on this lap. He's diving into the pits. I was going to say he did a couple of corners there in the stadium. He did look to take some big chunks of curb, and I think unsurprisingly that has led to a corner cutting penalty. What is Vastracer going to do? Improves once again. 1:13.416. If you're anyone else near to the front of the field, that is a bit disheartening. 4.5 tenths that gap now. That will surely be it for him in this qualifying session. Won't want to wear out those tyres anymore, and knowing of course that Nolan will not be taking part this weekend. Be very surprised if it is anyone but the German in the lead of the championship by the end of this. Vastracer at the moment the only car out on circuit. I say that as Messina just rejoins 10th place at the moment. Possibly one of the worst places to start on the grid. You'd rather be 11th than 10th as you get that choice of 3 tyres, of course. So we'll see if the McLaren can improve. He's got 2 tenths to find to Clarkey with Surface, who a bit out of sorts for him. He has shown pace so far this season. He's 11th at the moment, although, as I said a few seconds ago, it's not always a disaster starting outside the top 10. Many of the other drivers leaving it late, so Messina will be hoping that he doesn't get caught up in traffic from cars on their outlap. Can easily lead to a qualifying ban if you get caught blocking another driver. See F1 Gamer, he's out on his outlap. Sparks and Speedster, a few more others joining them now. So hopefully he won't get too caught up in traffic. We'll follow the McLaren round. His teammate Onyx not here tonight. What can Messina do? Any improvement? What will surely be his final attempt in this qualifying session. There we go, Louis has joined, so he will be starting this race 15th on the grid. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1 already. No one else on a hot lap, so I imagine that's just for cars travelling slowly. Taking as short a line as possible through these corners. The drivers practice relentlessly, of course, knowing the track limits on this game is important, and it's an improvement so far. 1.5 tenths, that's a pretty big chunk of time to find through those first few corners, so looking good so far for Messina, as long as he hasn't got it wrong in that Papaya McLaren. Very tricky sequence of corners, these S's. If you get stuck behind someone in the race who's on older tyres around these corners, overlapped car, you could easily find yourself losing a chunk of time. It is a fairly short circuit around here, as you can see, and oh, he's gone deep into turn 12. There's Messina, so that is his qualifying over, I'd imagine, unless he's got enough fuel for one more run. We'll have to wait and see. And in the end, it was a slight improvement, but would have been a lot more, and he's backed off, so that is it for him. Most of the others, though, are heading towards their fast laps now. Sparks, he's was one of the first few guys to come out, so he's going to be one of the first to complete his lap. 2 tenths up at the moment. That'd be enough to put him on the second row of the grid. Really, all he has to do is keep it clean, and we've got a provisional second place for the Alfa Romeo driver. Looks very tidy to me through that final stadium section, and it is a 1:13.767. Lost a bit of time compared to his personal best in that final sector, but at the moment that is good enough for second position. Sam asking if you can still do mid-season sign-ups. It'll be worth, I believe, checking the Apex Online Racing forum. All the information is there. To be honest, I'm not too sure. I think they are still accepting some for reserves possibly, and you don't have to take part in any evaluation races, just for time trials will be enough. And Paris, he's had enough. He hasn't improved at all. Checkered flag will be coming out shortly. That's best with a 1:13.9. Most of the others are struggling to improve. In fact, a lot of drivers invalidating their final laps. We'll see. Nick's gone up to 11th in the Mercedes. Surface, he dives into the pits. And Ash, I think he was last man across the line in the end. So he's out in the Renault. Vasterazer will probably have pole position here. They will follow the racing point round to see if he can find even more of an improvement. But it's been a very dominant qualifying session from the Racing Point driver so far. He was fast right from the word go, and even his second lap time would have been comfortably good enough. Oh, he's got it wrong there, so I don't think we're going to get any improvement from the Racing Point. Don't be surprised to see him dive into the pits here. Now he's going for it, see if there is any slight improvement. Only 600ths off his personal best, so maybe we would have seen slightly faster. What can Ash do? He's looking slightly better than before. A 1:13.938 wouldn't have improved his time anyway, and it was invalidated for exceeding track limits. And I'm sure everyone in the field will be hoping that that time from Vasteracer shows that he's gone for a bit more of a qualifying setup on that racing point. Otherwise, it could be very difficult to stop him taking win number 4 of the season and taking the lead in the championship. More importantly, Vestarazor's racing point on pole position. A huge margin by AOR standards. Back to Sparks in second place. Great qualifying from him in the Alpha. I believe that is best qualifying of the season. Pablo Joglar showing good pace again in third, and Speedster fourth. Only 3 thousandths ahead of CA in fifth. He is sandwiched then by the Ferraris with F1 Gamer behind in 6th. Ashbest 7th. Paris 8th. The Red Bull of Clarkey 9th. Messina's Sol McLaren in 10th. Then Nick and Surface 11th and 12th. They were the last 2 drivers to set a lap. Jompalainen and Kieski did not set a lap time. And Louis joining that session towards the end. Of course, he will be qualifying then in 15th position. So we will wait and see how this qualifying how the race goes then. 36 laps, as I mentioned, bright blue sky at the moment. Let's see how it will go. Who do you guys think is going to take the victory here today? You've got to say you're going to have to go some to stop Vestarazor, but it's a long run to that first corner. A lot of slipstreaming. Seen many times in AOR, in the real world. A lot of freeway battles heading to that first corner. I'm sure Ash and the other drivers will be hoping the run down to the straight is a bit cleaner than it was last time out. A few got caught out by a slow start by David Harrison, and it all just concertinaed up heading into turn 1. They're picking their setups now. Be ready to go here in Mexico with a formation lap. Of course, first, just waiting for everyone to ready up and connect. Hopefully we won't have any issues. That is always a slight worry that there's going to be a problem. Some of the other races that are going on right now, of course, there is the PC F1 tier, the top tier action at 8 o'clock that we always have. And at 9 o'clock it will be the Xbox One F1 tier, and also all tier 2 and below across all the consoles and platforms available now live. But why would you want to switch away from this one when we have a great title battle, of course? Vestarazor 8 points behind the absentee Nolan. It's going to be a great chance for him to take the lead of the championship, but how far ahead will he get? A win and a fastest lap would put him 18 points ahead and would be perfect for him, of course. And this is taking an exceedingly long time. It says Jompalainen has left the session. We've got a Mercedes parked across the track. So yeah, not too sure what is happening here, people. We've got some nice donuts going on. I believe we might have to reset the session. Unfortunately, you just love when there's a bit more drama getting added into it after everything. I'll try and find out for you guys, of course, what exactly is happening. Yeah, you can see everyone is leaving the session. So yeah, definitely some problems here with the connection. Yeah, just confirmation from Jompalainen that he is setting up a new one. So Vestarazor's AI will take us around on this very pointless formation lap, just to add a bit more tension to the situation, of course. He will still, they'll just set the grid, of course, so he will still get pole position. And Louis will be able to pick the car that he's meant to be in. He will be able to pick the Williams. What can he do? He's been pretty good most of the races, but he had problems last time around in Japan. It was his. He seemed to have a problem after the safety car, really. I'm not sure if he had any damage last time out, but after the safety car came in, he really struggled to keep it on the circuit in that Williams. That did lead to him taking out Nolan Of course, that did not go to the stewards. I think Nolan quite happily, in the end, just to accept that was an accident. And I completely forgot to mention that there was a bit of argy-bargy between the two main championship rivals last time out, with Vasta Racer in qualifying ended up going into the back of Nolan as he was about to line up for his fast lap. Completely accidental, I'm sure, but as Ollie mentioned, it's not the first time we have seen two big title rivals crash out at the first corner at Suzuka. So as soon as I get an invite to the new session, I will join it, and then hopefully we will be underway shortly. Bit of a recap then of how the season has gone so far, just while we've got a bit of a chance to go through that. Nolan pretty much dominant up until around about round 11, I think it was, Germany, when he had 4 wins in the first 10 races, missed one, 2 other podiums as well. Since then he's only took part in 2 races, and it was a second in Italy, beaten on penalties by Vasta Racer, and then a DNF in Japan, as I'm sure you've heard me mention quite a few times on this stream. The Toro Rossos did have a big lead in the Constructors' Championship as well, with it was Ruben was the teammate of Nolan. However, since then he's been replaced by David Harrison. That lead has slowly found itself being crept in, but it just shows how good Nolan was in that first half of the season, that he has missed now 6. This will be his 7th race missed, and he could still, don't expect it to happen, but he could still end up being the championship leader at the end of the night. Some of the drivers, well, Vasta Racer, he didn't get a podium until Silverstone. 4th was his best finish in the first 9 races. Since then, in the races he's second part in, he's only finished below 4th once. Other drivers, Louis didn't finish a race until round 8 in France. Since then, he's had 2 victories and 2 other podiums. What could have been in his championship if he'd have got it together a bit more. Surface, for the bridesmaid, he's had 2 second places in this championship. Ash has had 1, but since some of the other drivers have started stepping up, they found it a bit more difficult of late. Jocolat, who's missing tonight as well, he's had 2 victories earlier on in the season. So no one has really put together a full, fantastic season. And that is the reason why we've still got this very close championship, even though Nolan has missed so many races. Some of the new guys that have come in as well have shown great pace as well. Speedster, originally a reserve driver, he's had 3 races, 4th, 8th, and a did not finish. Sparks came into this championship late and got a podium in only his 2nd race. Gamer came in late as well. He's finished 4 races in the positions 1 to 4 at the moment. So we have seen some great performances from these guys. Hopefully we're going to see a bit more very shortly. Just waiting for, I think everyone has joined the session now that is meant to be here. We are back up to 15 drivers, so hopefully this race will get underway soon. Just waiting for the qualifying positions to be set up. No need to re-go qualifying, of course. As Jake said, this race should definitely be interesting. It is one I'm looking forward to. DRS very effective down here. Perhaps you could argue even maybe a bit too effective along that main straight. So I expect to see lots of overtaking, and of course that can lead to a few DRS trains going underway at times. Can help keep all the field close together. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in this qualifying session. not long in the race even. Not long to go now. Just I think waiting for Jompalainen just to set up the grid so we get all the right order together. So drivers are waiting. I'm sure this is not ideal for them. They'll have been wanting to get in straight away, but there's not really much they can do about it at the moment. So as I was saying, next week it will be America, Circuit of the Americas in Austin. The Tour of the Americas ends the week after that in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, or Interlagos as we most know it, and then Yas Marina Circuit for what could be and what will hopefully be a championship showdown. I definitely hope that Nolan returns for the next few rounds, keeps it very interesting in the championship when everyone is there, of course. We'll have to just wait and see, won't we, if he does decide to turn up for those final couple of races. Most drivers do end up missing a few races over the course of the season. As many as he's missed, it does seem a bit extreme, but not much I can do about that. Everyone is starting to ready up now, so the race should be underway very shortly. Fingers crossed everything runs smoothly this time around and we can get underway after the aborted formation lap. Would have been interested if they could have gone underway with that formation lap with the Mercedes doing donuts at the field. That'd make a fascinating Drive to Survive episode, surely. Reminder, the top 10 will have to start on the tyres that they qualified on. And as we run through the qualifying order again, it was Vasta Racer, Sparks, Joglar, Speedster, CA, Gamer, Ashbest, Paris, Clarkey, Messina, Nick, Servish, Jompalainen, Kieski. Of course, Louis didn't join until after qualifying had started, so he was unable to set a lap. So not quite a full grid, but I'm sure plenty enough to keep it very interesting here tonight. We're picking their setups once again. Be interested to see if any of the drivers have changed their mind. Of course, Park Firm additions technically would have applied beforehand, but I'm sure if they wanted to, they could pick a slightly different setup now that the session has been restarted. I'm not suggesting that's what they will do, but you never know. Be a very sneaky thing to do, and perhaps not the worst idea, but we'll have to wait and see. 36 laps will be ahead of us around this circuit. Main overtaking points, unsurprisingly, with the DRS zones, as I mentioned, heading into turn 1 and then again into turn 4. Though if you do get a good run, you can dive down the inside into the stadium section at turn 13. Now that will leave you vulnerable, of course, to the DRS as you exit the stadium and back towards turn 1. So, got to be tactical where you think you overtake around this circuit. Everything looks to be hunky-dory this time around, so thankfully we are go again for the formation lap. 36 laps will be starting after this. The tyres that everyone has chosen. We knew what the top 10 were doing. Nick in 11th has also gone for the soft tyres. Surface going for the hards. Interesting strategy, so it's going to be a very long first stint for him. Then Jompalainen, Kieski and Louis on those medium tyres. So I think Louis could be a dark horse in this race. Obviously because he wasn't in qualifying, I'm not too sure what his pace is like, but he's generally been good for most of the races so far this season. As long as he can keep it clean. Being at the back is a bit easier to do that than it is in the middle. Of course, he should be able to pick his way through some of those lower soft tyre runners as their tyres wear out, and he does seem to have better pace than them in general. And that medium to soft strategy does work quite often. It's just, can you make those mediums last long enough to make that a legitimate strategy, because you do have to use two different types of tyres. I'm sure they'd much rather go mediums to softs than they would go mediums to the hard tyres surface. He'll definitely be going to the softs after his pit stop. That is assuming, of course, that there are no safety cars, no collisions, no rain, although I'd say that would be very unlikely looking at the skies at the moment. Nice white fluffy clouds for every of the drivers to race under, and Vasta Race has flown around this formation lap, really. He doesn't want to mess about. He's already taken his place on the grid as Louis only just exiting the stadium section, so it's going to be a long wait for Vasta Racer. Engine temperatures will be rising, brake and tyre temperatures will be falling, of course. Final couple of cars now lining up at the back of the grid. Can Vasta Racer take full advantage of Nolan's absence? Will there be someone else taking the victory? We will find out soon enough, as 3, 4, 5 lights are on. They've gone out and we are racing here in Mexico, and it's a decent start from the front two. I'd say Sparks has got it slightly better, and he's got the inside line at the moment as they head down towards turn 1. Here comes the slipstreaming battle, the two Ferraris side by side as well, and it is Sparks who has got the run going into turn 1. Vasta Racer trying to hold it on around the outside. Sparks running a bit wide, so that's given Vasta Racer a move back. Paolo Joglar getting pushed wide there slightly. F1 Gamer up into 3rd place, but it is still Vasta Racer. He's got away pretty cleanly. Joglar and F1 Gamer battling side by side. These two fought for the win last time out, and F1 Gamer will take that position as Joglar once again having to take to the tarmac runoff area. Doesn't want to do that too often. You could find yourself with a few early penalties, but Vasta Racer and Sparks front two remaining unchanged. I said watch out for Louis. He's gained 3 places already, as has F1 Gamer. CA had lost 3, but he's just regained one of them back past Paris. There's quite a few drivers seem to be running off track already in these early stages. CA gaining another couple of places. There's a bit of lag going on there, so we'll get ourselves right away from that battle. We don't want to be seeing any of that, but it's Vasta Racer with a 1 second lead, that all important 1 second margin already. DRS not active on these first 2 laps, of course, and then Sparks and F1 Gamer, Joglar, Speedster, Paris, CA, Ashbest, Nick and Mazzini, your top 10 at the moment. Everyone through the first lap cleanly, all importantly. Some battling further down. I don't know if that is because of the lag, but no, it looks like Ash has got past Nick and CA, and Nick very tail happy in that Mercedes at the moment, being pushed along the straight by CA. The Haas is going to have to try and do it round the outside at turn 4. Not able to. Mazzina cutting across the curb quite severely there. Is he going to get himself joined in the action? Doesn't want to get pushed out too wide though, because it's still very close. You've got the Red Bull of Clarkey just behind as well. Everything ending up pretty even there, and I think Joglar got past F1 Gamer as well out in front, and that battling has allowed Sparks to open up a bit of a gap between these guys as well. So we've got the 2 Ferraris running line astern, 4th and 5th at the moment, as we've got a big battle possibly going on here for that final podium position. All 15 cars still running. Out in front, Vasta Racer. It's looking like that qualifying performance wasn't a fluke. He's just extending the gap more and more. 1.5 seconds as they cross the line ahead of Sparks. DRS will be available next time around, so they don't have it on this straight, but heading down into turn 4 could be interesting. Stay on board here with Speedster. See what he can do, locking up both front tyres. You don't want to do that too much on these softs that you've been on since the start of the race. Ashbest getting himself a penalty for multiple warnings. That's the first one we have seen at the moment. No one here really looking close enough to pass this time around. See another lock-up for Mazzina, so maybe those on the soft tyres are struggling already. You'd expect Nick not to. He did start outside the top 10. In the next couple of laps, expect those that did start on the softs to maybe drop back a bit, and Nick to find his way up through the field. And Louis, of course, in 12th place. Over 50 points behind in the championship, 54 points. But with Nolan not there, but the gap he'll be thinking of is 46 points to Vasta Racer, and stranger things have happened, but he's going to have the race of his life, really, if he wants to stay in the championship by the end of tonight. 12th place at the moment, the Sowell Williams runner. Speedsters dropped back a bit from these guys, and that's given Paris a chance. DRS wide open on both of these cars, side by side they go. Heavy braking there, you can just see the overspeed he had. He has managed to get past Paris. Well, F1 Gamer getting past Joglar as well. There was a bit of a gap between them, so I said it was effective. Of course, that means F1 Gamer still has the DRS there, so must have been behind heading into the apex. There's been a few lockups in the background. But I said Nick, I'd expect him to do well. He's dropped back 2 places there behind CA and Mazina, despite having those fresher soft tyres. So the Haas and the McLaren up to 8th and 9th respectively, but Vasta Racer and Sparks still pulling away at the head of the field at the moment. 1.8 seconds the gap back to second place, and it's 1.4 seconds for the Ferrari between the Alfa and the Ferrari in third, although I expect that could close now that DRS is available, of course, on 2 straights around here. We saw this last time out. Vasta Racers just seemed to pull away, but there were a lot of drivers on different strategies after the early safety car. Only real different strategy he's going to have to worry about is Surface, who is currently down in last place. Is Speedster going to have a chance to get Paris back? Paris has the DRS as well in that racing point, so perhaps not going to be able to do it this time around. Sparks getting a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Speedster does seem to be lagging about quite a bit, but at least they're not climbing on top of each other, as we saw earlier on with CA and Ash. Not able to do anything this time, and F1 Gamer does seem to be pulling away from Joglar. So he got his first win of the season last time out. Has he got his eyes set surely on possibly following that? He'll have to get past Sparks, but Sparks already with a 5-second penalty, which he will serve in his pit stop, of course. And because he serves that penalty, if he does serve that penalty in the pit stops, he will not be able to appeal it in the stewards. They can't appeal pit stop time penalties or drive-through penalties because they do affect where your car is out on track. But Vasta Racer on lap 6, 2.4 seconds, the lead he has at the moment. You can just see what I mentioned here about a DRS train. No one really able to catch up to the car in front, so DRS just helping them keep all the gaps constant. Clarkey though has got past Nick in the Red Bull, so that's for the final points position at the moment. Clarkey up into 10th position. Nick seems to be falling back, which is not what I expected. And the McLaren of Mazina all over the back of CA in the Haas. Mazina's going to dive to the inside line, pulling off the dummy there brilliantly. If he can get the car stopped in time, he's ran wide. Contact between the two of them. Mazina's nearly gone round. Is that going to cause him to lose another place to the Red Bull of Clarkey? Fair driving from the McLaren driver there gave Clarkey enough space. Clarkey's going to have the inside through the S's. Just a bit of slight contact between the two of them. And he looked like he was going to gain a place there, the McLaren, but he's lost one instead. Just outbraked himself. And then there was a slight bit of contact. Cars on this game, if you do tap your front wheel on the rear of someone else's car, you can very easily spin right round. And the McLaren, he held on to the spin, but not enough to avoid him losing any places. Head back to the DRS train. You can see it opening on all the cars there. Mazina actually pitting, so perhaps some front wing damage. That is a very early stop on those soft tyres from the McLaren. It's changed onto the medium, so it's now a 2-stop strategy. I'd say the most likely from this point be a supreme feat of tyre management if he can get those until the end. So be interested to see if he can salvage anything in this race. What was looking like a big battle for third place, now looking like a bigger battle for second place. F1 Gamer catching Sparks up, and it's not like Sparks is losing touch with Vasta Racer in the lead. It's just everyone else seems to be getting dragged up towards the back of him at the moment. You've got Gamer, Juggler, Paris, Speedster and Ash Best. Then it's a bit of a gap to CA, who's sort of on his own just a tiny bit. Then Clarky, Nick, Louis, Kiski, Jompalainen, Surface and Massina, who's the only driver to have pitted so far in this race. They all head on to lap 8. DRS, there's the beep. There's the envelope in the rear wing opening, but just not close enough through that final sector to do anything. But DRS is stopping him being under threat from anyone else behind, of course. So I think unless someone makes a mistake through the final corner, or even a mistake through turn 3, as we saw from F1 Gamer. But Juggler just not close enough to take advantage of that. And very late on the brakes from the Renault, locking up, in fact. Well, with DRS, that doesn't really seem to have cost F1 Gamer anything, because he's still right onto the back of Sparks. But it's no good catching anyone through this section because you can't really overtake them. But if Sparks does have to get defensive, that will just help the leader, of course. 3 seconds that lead now, and you can see how hard Sparks is pushing. He's got himself a 3-second time penalty. So if this ends up being a close race, he could lose a lot of time with penalties. And of course in the pit stop, when he serves that penalty, he could drop quite far back behind these cars. So maybe a race of having to do a few overtakes for the Alfa Romeo driver. Still a long way to go, of course. 28 laps remaining. Sparks has dived into the pits, as fact, so has Paris and a few of the other cars as well. So looking like maybe a 2-stop is going to be the order of the day here. DRS, the order of the day for Juggler, straight past. And Ash Best has retired from the session, actually. Ash has retired in the Renault. Has he got it wrong coming out of the final corner? Has he got it wrong heading into the pit lane? Didn't see the car there, but yellow flags. All those that are pitted did go out onto the hard tyres. There's Ash's car at the end of the pit lane. So now that they've all gone onto the hards, 1 stop is possible on those. But again, you're going to have to manage your tyres well. And you can see how the penalties cost Sparks. In the end, he's only just ahead of Massina, who will be fighting hard to get past on the mediums. He has got the fastest tyres out of these guys at the moment, and of course he needs to get past if he's going to make this 2-stop strategy get anywhere close to working. Clarky leaving the session as well. He disconnected last time around, so he's going to drop through the order once again. Such a shame for the Red Bull that he seems to be having these connection issues when he's in good places. Now you can see Vasta Racer, Juggler, F1 Gamer pitting, CA and Nick as well. I was going to say all the soft runners, but Clarky's AI car staying out and Nick getting himself a penalty. And all of a sudden, Louis from the back of the grid leads this race. So how long can he keep these medium tyres going for? Of course, Clarky, unless he rejoins, he will almost certainly get himself nil points from this Mexican Grand Prix. So it is now Louis, Kiski, Jompalainen and Surface. They're the only guys not to have pitted. Vasta Racer still coming out in the lead. We pretty much have a net racing point 1-2. The power of the undercut there, because Paris finds himself in second place of those who are pitted. And then it's F1 Gamer, Speedster, Pavla, Juggler, Sparks and Massina still not able to get past him at the moment. I was surprised to see Nick pit that earlier, and yeah, Clarky confirming another disconnection. Such a shame for him. Hopefully he has a spare invite though, so he can get back in. Now Paris can do a great hand to his teammate here if he just holds everyone up slightly. Sure, he won't really be thinking of that. He'll be doing his own race, but it's 4 seconds to Vasta Racer. 9.5 seconds off the lead now, of course, as Nick and CA battling hard through the stadium section, banging wheels. Interestingly, Massina hasn't gone past Sparks. I would have expected him to do so in the McLaren, but nothing doing for him so far. See, DRS will be open on the Haas. He's got such overspeed despite being on those hard tyres. Nick going for the soft tyre, so he's going to have to pit again. I can only imagine that being an error from the Mercedes. I'm not sure why he would go for the softs, although he will be able to choose the mediums in the end, and you'd expect him to have more pace than someone on the hard tyres, but DRS proving effective as well as the slipstream. CA up to 13 for now. Is Nick going to try and fight back into turn 4? That's very late on the brakes from the Mercedes. Didn't expect it to get that stopped in time. CA's had to cut the corner to avoid contact. Getting a bit feisty between these two. Banged wheels in the stadium section earlier, side by side again, and Nick takes that place, but in doing so gets himself a penalty for corner cutting. And still they're banging tyre against side pod there. So this battle, I think, is going to run Louis in the pits on those mediums after 11 laps. So he'll have to go to the hards as well, of course. We will have fresher tyres. It's just where he comes out. I'd expect him to be well behind, pretty much back in the place where he was before all the pit stops happened. And you can see there, CA and Nick, there's the Williams, is going to come out and look, and CA thinking, I'm going to get myself a bit of a slipstream off the Williams there, and the Mercedes having to go on the grass to try and avoid contact. Who said these guys aren't bothered about fighting for these lower places? Because it is all very feisty for 12th, 13th and 14th. They know if there's any more retirements, they could find themselves in a good position towards the end of this race. Nick and CA again. Louis, he wants to just stay back from all this. He's got the fresher tyres, and that could be a brilliant cutback as long as they realise that they're going into this corner 3 wide. Don't know if I can look through the S's. It's all going to get very tight. Surely Louis is going to have to give up, and yeah, somehow managing to get through without any damage. And after all that, we haven't really spoke about that. It's now Kieski in the Mercedes heading on to lap 13 in the lead of this race. And then Jompalainen, Vasteracer, Surface and Clarkey, who disconnected. Vasteracer moving up into 3rd place now, and it's 4.7 seconds to gap ahead of anyone else. And they're still going at it down at the back of the field. Nick on those soft tyres. Vasteracer getting his first penalty. Bump drafting. It's not NASCAR. They do have an oval around here. Nick going to go for it down the inside again from the Mercedes. He loves a late lunge on the brakes. Usually does it at turn 4. He's earned himself another 3-second time penalty. So that shows how hard he has been pushing. Is he going to be able to get a move done on CA this time around? The Haas is going to force him to go the long way round. And he's made the move stick. Brilliant driving from the Mercedes driver that time around. For 12th position. Vasteracer has got himself up into 2nd now, ahead of Jompalainen. Paris getting past Clarkey, who is disconnected, of course, and he's still got them Ferraris behind him. The gap to his teammate is now 5.6 seconds, so the longer this race goes without them Ferraris being able to overtake the Racing Point, if they are able to, only 1 lap fresher tyres. Considering how durable these hards are, you're not expecting that to make much of a difference at all. So Clark's Red Bull is coming into the pits, of course. Now F1 Gamers having a look, not able to do it. Round the outside into turn 1. We'll follow them through here. Great exit, I must say, from Paris. And I think that'll be enough for him to just hold it, the position this time around. Further back it is Louis, who's now ahead of that 3-car train in what is now 11th place. I'd expect Nick's tyres to be wearing out fairly rapidly compared to how short the soft tyres lasted earlier on. And Louis needs to get himself clear if he wants to keep his slim championship hopes alive. He will still be mathematically in the hunt after this race, no matter what. But needs something to happen to Vasteracer, and probably needs a safety car if he wants to have a realistic chance. Although I'm sure he'd been delighted to even have a mathematical chance, considering it was France before he scored his first points of the season. Massina has got past Sparks as well, so expect the McLaren to now try and concentrate on catching up to Pablo Joglar. Is F1 Gamer able to do anything on Paris this time around? We will wait and see. Still not close enough, and he knows he can't really go for a lunge because Speedster Pablo Joglar are just waiting in the wings, not too far behind. But it's Kiski still out in front, 4.69 seconds the lead over Vasteracer. Him and Jon Palainen are doing a great job on keeping these mediums to last. There's no way I don't think they'll be able to get them to last too long enough to be able to change onto those soft tyres, but they will have much better hard tyres than everyone else at the end, and they're going to need them to try and make their way up through the field. Massina getting another time penalty, so we're about to come on to lap 16. Still a long way to go. We're not even at the halfway point. Of course, after that disconnection early on, Kiski has come into the pits. Will Jon Palainen follow? No, he will not. So Vasteracer takes the lead of this race once again. And you'd say he's looking pretty good that he will stay there. So Jon Palainen and Surface, who did start on the hard tyres, so he's going to be doing well as well towards the end, as he's going to have fresh softs to go on. F1 Gamer trying to go around the outside into turn 1 of Paris. Not able to do so this time around. Has that compromised him enough maybe to give Speedster a chance at getting a run on his teammate? No, it hasn't. So pretty much status quo there. Nick's got past Louis again in that race-long battle, what will probably be now for some of them places. Of course, Nick will have to pit soon, but expect Louis and CA to fight through the field together. Surface and Jon Palainen have been battling as well, and soon the rest of the front runners are going to catch up to these guys, so that could just make things a bit more interesting for Paris. It might do him a favour if he gets DRS off the Haas, of course. Might just help him defend for a bit, but he doesn't want to get held up too long by Surface, who is really on a completely different strategy after starting on those hard tyres. A struggle in qualifying for him. Jon Palainen staying out once again, so Surface will surely make his way up into second position. The flap on that Haas opens, and the black and gold car just flies past the Red Bull. Surface up into second place now, and F1 Gamer wasn't close enough really to challenge Paris there. And in fact, he looked more likely that he was going to get overtaken by his teammate. Massina hasn't really been able to catch up to these guys. So Paris now having to go at Jon Palainen. He's going to have to go to the outside, and he's done that easily. And F1 Gamer desperate to follow through because he doesn't want to get held up, because Jon Palainen perhaps just dragged these medium tyres on a lap too long, because everyone is streaming past him. Got yellow flags in sector 1. Nick is out of this race. Nick is out. I think that's happened roundabout at turn 3. Luckily, Clark's car still in this session, and we can just see, I think we saw a bit of debris there. And a stricken slowing down Mercedes on that left-hand side of the track. So we are down to just 13 runners. Now, will that cause a safety car? Because that could change everything. Then Jon Palainen and Massina will look fairly clever with their strategies if they get a chance to pit under the safety car. We're nearly at halfway. Lap 18 out of 36. 5.7 seconds for lead of Vasteracer over Surface, but the Haas is yet to pit, and then it is the other racing point of Paris in third at the moment, with F1 Gamer not too far behind. All that slipstreaming going on is helping keep the pack together. CA's retired from the session as well, so I can only imagine he was involved in that collision with Nick as Paris, down the inside of Surface. He gets the move done cleanly, but we are down to just 12 runners, and with Clarkey being disconnected, it is basically 11 runners left in this Mexican Grand Prix. But 2 racing points back at 1-2. And because you can just see, because Paris got the move done early on, how much time he's able to gain, because you can't really do anything through this part of the circuit and overtake. It's very tough to pass through turn 2, through sector 2, nigh on impossible. After those first few corners, you're not going to get anything done through the S's unless there's a mistake, and it is difficult through the stadium section as well. F1 Gamer's going to have such better grip than surface, but they're both going to have DRS. I think it's still going to be a straightforward pass though for the Ferrari. Both with the Ferrari engine, all performances identical anyway, so that doesn't make a difference. And F1 Gamer has got the inside line. He takes third position now. And further back, Mazina battling with Jon Palainen, who is still staying out on those medium tyres. I can't see him being able to make them last long enough at all to be useful to change onto the soft surface. Getting past there by Speedster and Pablo Joglar as well, so even he's struggling, and Jon Palainen is just dropping way down the field in the Red Bull. So surely he'll be coming in for the hard tyres soon. He is now down in 9th place. Mazina and Sparks moving up to 7th and 8th respectively. Won't be too long before Kieski, who seems to have dropped back quite a bit, of course, pitting later. You see what it's done to him. So Jon Palainen, when he pits, he will be coming out way at the back of the field in 11th place. Expect surface to be low down as well, but the difference is surface, he'll be hoping to be able to change onto a set of soft tyres, so he will probably set the fastest lap in this race. If he's not in the top 10, he won't get a point, of course. But you never know what might happen, and a late safety car can make it very interesting. Mazina's dived into the pits after only 13 laps on those mediums. He'll be going on to the mediums again, I'd imagine, until the end. Indeed he does. That promotes Louis up into the points. Out in the front of this race, so not having to worry about any of that. It's been straightforward since he held off Sparks around turn 1 and 2. Vasta Racer now with a 6.3 second lead over his teammate, who is still managing to just stay ahead of this train for second place. Paris, Gamer, Speedster, Joglar, surface on the back of it, but he's just going to drop further back on those older tyres, of course, especially now that he's dropped out of DRS range. If it finished as it is now, Vasta Racer would end up having an 18-point lead in this championship over Nolan and the Toro Rosso team, who have a huge lead at the moment in the Constructors. That would very quickly get more than halved from 75 down to just 31 points, but still a long way to go. Still 16 laps remaining in this race, and that is 16 laps where Paris is going to have to fend off F1 Gamer, who's got a much better exit out of the final corner. DRS, of course, open on that Ferrari. Nothing Paris is able to do this time around, and F1 Gamer finally, I'm sure he thinks, gets ahead. I'm not sure if there were a bit of a tap then from Paris. Has that compromised him and given Speedster a chance perhaps, because of course there's only one detection point, so Speedster will have DRS while Paris does not, but staying behind, so it's down to third for the racing point. Of course that would happen as soon as I start making any predictions of what the Constructors' Championship could look like. I imagine that is just pure pace. Paris did brilliantly with the undercut. He's still got a chance of a podium because of course now he will have DRS on the Ferrari, so if he can stay close to F1 Gamer, he will be able to fight back for the rest of this race. It's not over yet, and Jon Palainen is somehow still staying on those medium tyres. I think he's going to try and make them last so we can go onto the softs at the end of this race. I'm not sure it's the best strategy, but there's a reason I'm in the commentary box and not driving. It's a superb feat if he can do it. Louis earned himself another penalty for multiple warnings. He is pushing hard in 10th place at the moment. He's going to gain a couple of places when Jon Palainen and surface pit, but he's going to be under pressure perhaps from Mazina, who will be looking good in the McLaren to maybe get some more points in this race. Surface and Jon Palainen, the only two drivers not to have pitted at the moment. And F1 Gamer did hold off Paris on that lap, who's not as close to the Ferrari in front as he is to the Ferrari behind. But I've said it a few times, he's just not going to be able to pass here unless you're side by side. In fact, Paris got a slight slide there. I'm not sure if Speedster did as well or if that is just the connection. Speedster, of course, coming all the way from America, so it's inevitable that he will be suffering from a bit more jitter and lag than the others around him. He's doing well at the moment in 4th place. Pablo Joglar behind him. These two have had a bit of history as well. Joglar reported Speedster for the stewards for retiring on track after Speedster's headset failed last time around. And seeing the footage, they came very close to iCar having an accident with Joglar through 130R. He's not close enough this time to overtake, so this battling's going to carry on a bit more. Surface being passed, unsurprisingly, by Sparks on those fresher, hard tyres. So could the Alpha find his way back up after that 5-second penalty? Onto this field up ahead. He's going to have to go some 2 and a bit seconds, but if there's some battling out in front, he's not going to have to worry about the Haas being able to fight back, of course. So could soon see a 5-way battle for that 2nd place. Lap 23 of the Mexican Grand Prix going to plan for Faster Racers. 7.2 seconds the lead now he has over F1 Gamer, who's just passed Faster Racers teammate Paris for that 2nd place. But it was a big battle if he wants to keep hold of that, with Speedster and Joglar and Paris still not far behind either. Surface we are looking at now has managed 22 laps on those hard tyres. Jon Palainen's managed 22 on the mediums. I'm surprised there's any rubber left, and I'm surprised he hasn't had a puncture. You can hear how soft he's having to be on the throttle. Surface, in fact, has given up on his hards before Jon Palainen has, so maybe Surface will have to go onto the mediums there. Indeed he does. So Jon Palainen, I think he's trying to do this on the softs, because if he was going for the hard tyres, he'd have pitted a long time ago. Surface will come out in 11th place. Clarkey having disconnected once again. Bit of status quo now in this battle for 2nd place. On board with the Renault, Pablo Joglar. Now sole remaining Renault in this race. Thought Speedster was going to go for a bit of a lunge there on Paris. I'm not sure if the camera angle was just deceptive, but we saw some smoke from the front right of that Ferrari. But all this battling will just allow Faster Racers to get away. He does have 3 seconds of penalties, but unless he picks up a chunk more, he'll be pretty safe. I think once we get a bit of a break next time around, I may look at the penalty situation for these guys in the 2nd to 5th, because I don't want to miss any of the overtakes that I'm sure you don't. 2/3 of the way through the race, and Pablo's just dropped a bit further back there. Speedster close to the back of Paris, but as you just saw, that flap opening on the pink Racing Point is just going to make it tough for him. Jon Palainen finally, after 23 laps, 24 laps even, cries enough, gets rid of those medium tyres and does indeed change to the softs. So just have a look at the penalty situation now for these guys. Faster Racer, as I said, he has 1 penalty. He's 1 warning away from another. F1 Gamer has kept it clean so far, as has Paris, but they're 1 warning away from a penalty. Speedster has a 3-second penalty, and Joglar has 2. And Sparks, he has 3 seconds as well, having served that 5-second penalty earlier on. So F1 Gamer and Paris looking good to get the podium after the penalties are applied, even if they don't manage to keep it out on track. But a long way to go, and Speedster again locking up both front tyres. We've seen him do that a few times. You can adjust the brake bias, but that will make the car a bit more unstable if you adjust it rearwards, of course. But it's all about compromising. We do see F1 drivers adjust it a lot back in the days when it was the mechanical knob. I think it was Michael Schumacher. If you want to see his lap around Monaco in 2012, nearly every single corner he is adjusting that brake bias. And the Speedster, the closest he has been for a long time to the back of Paris, but he's still not able to get past. Joglaw not really putting the Ferrari under any pressure, but not finding himself under any pressure from Sparks. He's not able to close up to the back of these guys either. Surface 10th after his pit stop. Jompalainen in 11th. Could be one to watch, that Red Bull on those soft tyres. If he can make them last 12 laps that he needs to, but after making the mediums last 24, that shouldn't be a problem. It's just whether, again, he has any pace towards the end of this race. This really the only battle out on track, and it is a great one. Ferrari, Racing Point, Ferrari, Renault, Alfa Romeo not too far behind as well. But I think Speedster just ran wide there slightly, coming through turn 13. So he's dropped back a bit from Paris, and Paris not really close enough to F1 Gamer as well. So the law concertina him up down the straight, and I'm sure down into turn 4. But unless there's a mistake, it'll have to be next time around. 10 laps remaining. See Joglaw just heading out of the slipstream there, just to remind Speedster that he is there, and if there's any mistakes, he will be ready to pounce. Still some debris from the Mercedes out on of Nick out on track there, and Jompalainen, there we go, fastest lap of the race, taking that extra point off Vasta Racer. I'm not sure I'll be too worried about that. I thought we were going to see a lunge there maybe from Paris on F1 Gamer. Did look incredibly close to the back of that lead Ferrari at the moment. Sparks is just catching about a tenth or two, but that's not going to be enough. But if he gets himself in the DRS zone, that might give Joglaw something to think about. But of course the Renault having DRS as well, and that's what's making it harder for the Alfa to catch up any quicker than that. Speedster looking very close this time around. That is a much cleaner stadium section than he managed before. Can run closer on the game than you can in real life. Dirty air doesn't really have an effect, and this could be one of his best chances. Rear wing opening on both of the cars. Well, that Racing Point must be geared for great top end speed, because he's not able to really catch up despite having a double slipstream. In fact, he's tapped the back of the Racing Point. No damage done, but he won't want to do that too often. He's determined to try and get past, but nothing doing at the moment. Sparks, he's trying to catch up, but he's finding it tough. And in fact, Speedster's got an overlap there coming out of turn 5 on Paris, and he's somehow got the move done. Paris must have got it wrong through turn 4 and 5. I said in qualifying, if you run deep into 4, it compromises your line through 5, and I can only imagine that is what's happened. But Speedster says thank you very much anyway. He is now up into 3rd place, and that has allowed F1 Gamer to escape a bit. So will he be able to set his sights on Vasta Racer? He's 7.5 seconds behind at the moment. That is 4.5 seconds once you take into account penalties. They are both one warning away from another one. So if Vasta Racer gets that, this could get very interesting for the lead out on track. I don't imagine we're going to see a battle, but maybe on time we will. So will Paris be able to have a go? Because we've said he has more straight line speed than the Ferrari, and he just takes that place straight back off Speedster. So back into 3rd place, and this is the battling that Sparks will have wanted to allow him to catch up, of course. See if anything changes through turns 4, 5 and 6 this time around. Is Pablo Joglaw going to go for a lunge on the Ferrari? He is. That is very late, and there's contact between the two of them. That move was never really on from the Renault, I don't think. No damage done, but a lot of time lost for Speedster. And is that going to give Sparks a chance? Because he's now right onto the back of this. So 4th, 5th and 6th. And I think Pablo needs to be careful because he has got some penalties. But that looked to be a very optimistic move on the Ferrari. The Ferrari, of course, suffering from some lag. So maybe not as much. Sparks has gone deep, nearly into the back of Joglaw then into turn 12, but manages to stay away. Could still see some moves maybe for 8th and 9th. Louis has been on his own for a bit on them hard tyres, but the McLaren behind of Messina has softer tyres on the mediums. They are fresher at the moment, so maybe we are going to see a move for that position. Are we going to see a move for second? Because all of a sudden, now that Paris doesn't have to bother about defending, he has gone on the offensive. Joglaw did get past Speedster in the end, but he has ran wide. Surely that's going to cost him at least one place. Is Sparks going to be able to fight back as well? Joglaw, I think, is going to go for the move once again down the inside. They both lock up. I'd be very surprised if these guys end their race with all bits of carbon fibre on their car. Battling extremely hard, and that's just allowing second and third to get away, so this is no longer a five-way battle for the podium. You've got F1 Gamer and Paris up ahead for second and third. Paris getting his first penalty of the race there. Then you've got this three-way battle for fourth, fifth and sixth position at the moment. Mazzina did get past Louis in the end for 8th place, and Louis earned himself another penalty. Kiski's not too far back off these guys as well, so if they start battling a bit too hard, maybe Kiski will find himself involved. We'll have to wait and see. Lap 31, it's looking good for Vastaracer. It's looking good for Joglar to try and move up into fourth. That's a late move from Speedster. Said there's some history between these guys. They're really showing how they feel about each other out on the track at the moment. Joglar once again running wide. I think he spent more time on that runoff area coming out of turn 3 than he has on the actual track at some points in this race. He's too far back to do anything this time around. Messina looks to have good play, so maybe he'll catch up to Kiski with 6 laps remaining. Slight love tap from the Alpha onto the back of the Renault. It's anyone's guess who's going to finish in 4th out on track at the moment. It's also anyone's guess who's going to take that second place. F1 Gamer, I thought, had got away for a bit there. Sparks earning himself a penalty for exceeding track limits too often. That is his second one of this race. But Paris doing all he can in 3rd to put pressure on that Ferrari. Louis earning himself another penalty, so he must be pushing as hard as possible. This Racing Point, in real life, they're known for being rapid in a straight line. It seems like Paris has set up his in exactly the same way. F1 Gamer not even bothering to defend the inside line with 5 laps remaining. Paris down the inside. He retakes second place to restore the 1-2. Speedster back past Joglar as well, of course, earlier on, and Joglar not able to do anything about it. Is he going to have a go into turn 4? DRS open on the Renault. He's a lot closer than before. Speedster braking as late as he does. He's somehow held on. Sparks tapping the back of Joglar again. I don't know if that was enough to send him wide. More contact between them. This is more akin to touring cars than it is to F1 now. Joglar having to back off there before the S's, and he is now down into 6th place. All getting a bit tense now between these guys, and Speedster just getting away, and you can see how the tyres are wearing. Joglar's done 22. Speedster and Sparks have managed 23 laps on those hard tyres, and they're all going to start wearing out now. We know it's doable to do that long, as Jon Palainen managed 24 on the mediums, but he had absolute zilch pace towards the end of that. 4 laps remaining. The leader and the race winner looks sorted, you'd have to say. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th could go anyone's way at the moment. Sparks this time, he's down the inside of Speedster to take 4th place. F1 Gamer earns his first 3-second time penalty. So it is, as you see it out on track, for 2nd and 3rd place at the moment. Out of these guys, I think it is still Speedster who has 1 less penalty than the others, as Joglar's tried to have a go down the outside. Down the inside, I should say, of the Ferrari. And there's been contact between them, because all of a sudden, sorry that we missed that, but all of a sudden Speedster's dropped back and he's got damage on his front wing, and Kiski has managed to get ahead. 4 laps to go. Surely if you're Speedster, you just try and hang on until the end. Jon Palainen's 10 seconds back, but he could easily lose 2.5 seconds a lap with that damage on the front wing. Some support for Vasta Racer in the chat from Dylan. I think your man's safe, but it's all gone wrong for Speedster. He looked like he might have a chance of a podium earlier on, and I think now he could be lucky to even stay in the points. And that's allowed Sparks to get away. F1 Gamer down the inside of Paris with 2 laps remaining. Paris just touching the back of the Ferrari as he goes through turn 2 and 3 there. I don't want to call this race at the moment. Kieski getting himself a time penalty. Maybe he can get himself 4th place all of a sudden. You never know. Sparks has got away. He must be thinking what might have been if he hadn't have had that 5-second stop go in the pits for exceeding track limits earlier on. He could have been up with F1 Gamer and Paris battling for a podium slot, but 4th place would still be a good performance for Sparks. I'm sure he's still getting used to racing without assists, of course, after joining the season halfway through and getting himself another penalty there. Paris has dropped further back from F1 Gamer, so he's not going to be close enough this time around, and after he's only really going to have one more lap to do it on afterwards. So on to the penultimate lap now. Vasta Racer 8.4 seconds the gap he has at the moment, as Pablo Juglaw got damage as well on his car. He's missing his end plate, so Kieski, Juglaw's going to have to do some incredible defending, and you see him going over to the right very early. Louis coming to the pits, that is a surprise to see him dive into the pits on those hard tyres. Kieski able to brake later, just straight forward with the full components of his front wing on his car, and he is up into 5th place now. Maybe there's a chance here for Mazzina to get up into 6th as well. He's got past Speedster. Louis, he's putting on the soft tyres. He's going for the fastest lap. He won't get any points for it though, because he's going to finish outside the top 10. And that pretty much will put the final nail in the coffin of his championship hopes. Paris has dropped back from F1 Gamer as well. He's still staying within the DRS zone, but he's just got 1 lap older tyres, so maybe they're just beginning to hit that cliff now. Final lap though for Vasta Racer. Out in front, 8.5 seconds the lead. Sparks managed to get past him for all of 1 corner before Vasta Racer held it on round the outside on the first lap. And it has been plain sailing for him since then. Paris, as I said, in the end I don't think he got DRS. I think he dropped too far back from F1 Gamer. So looks like 2nd and 3rd is all of a sudden sorted. He has close enough there to being within 1 second, but not enough to make any real difference. Speedster's done enough to hold on to some points. I didn't expect him to, so great driving from him in the end. I imagine the softs of Jon Palainen have just been too old, but he will lose a place to Surface. So Surface moving up into 8th position now. Extremely high tyre wear here at the Mexico Grand Prix, and that is why those starting outside the top 10 on the mediums and the hards haven't really made the progress that they've been able to. Massina doing fairly well on the 2-stop because he's going to take 6th place, I imagine. But the winner here in Mexico, Vasta Racer, crosses the line to take the victory and the lead in the championship. It's 2nd place for F1 Gamer, with Paris not too far behind. Pablo has held on to that 6th place, just out on track. Sparks getting 4th, Kieski 5th. Pablo Juglaw did get 6th. It wouldn't have made a difference. In the end, actually, Surface, he's done a great job keeping it clean. He takes 6th after penalties. Jon Palainen 7th, Juglaw 8th, Speedster 9th, and Mazzina dropping down onto 10th place. And the final person to cross the line, Louis 11th, and last of those to not be controlled by AI, of course, with Clarkey suffering a 2nd straight disconnection. But what a win in the end for Vasta Racer. Delight, that is his 4th victory of the season, his 4th in the last 8 races. And Paris in the end making it a 1-3. Fantastic job from him. And he'll do right to spray the champagne for German. He now has a 17-point lead in the championship over Nolan with 3 races to go. Hopefully we'll see the Frenchman back. Otherwise, you've got to say the championship is well and truly his now for the Vasta Racer. He took the victory from pole position. Nearly a perfect weekend for him, but just didn't get the fastest lap. That went to Louis in the end. F1 Gamer, second place in the Ferrari. Great result for him after his win last time out. Paris getting third place, did well with the undercut. Sparks could only finish fourth after his penalty early on. Who knows what might have been for him. Kiski doing well in fifth. Surface sixth. Jon Balainen seventh. Pablo Joglar and Speedster. Be interested to see what happened to them and if they go to the stewards. 8th and 9th, and Rakin taking a final points position. Louis was the final finisher. Clarkey disconnected. And CA Nick, I believe, involved in contact earlier, which caused them both to retire. And Ash, once again, was the first retirement, unfortunately for him, in the Renault. Got there eventually after a few problems in the end of qualifying, but a great race from Vasta Racer. As I mentioned, 17 points, the lead he has over Nolan at the head of the championship now. Was realistically a 2-horse race before this. Mathematically, Louis still got a slender chance of winning in it, and it is extremely slim. 71 points behind Vasta Racer with only 78 remaining. Unless Nolan returns, Vasta Racer will take this championship. I am sure of it, but hopefully we will see the Toro Rosso driver back next time around. Hopefully we'll see both of them, because the gap in the constructors has shrunk rapidly as well, more than halved from 75 down to just 35 points. So we are going to see some great championship battles to finish off F2. Have all your fingers crossed that Nolan turns up next week for the US Grand Prix. I'm sure Vasta Racer won't mind too much if he doesn't, but he's beaten him out on track before, and there's no reason why he can't do it again and continue what has been a fantastic second half of the season. Thank you for joining us. I imagine Ollie will be back next time out in America. I will certainly be there. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.